What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Don't Watch That Podcast. I'm Bloodshot.
With their host with the most, House of L.
Thanks for tuning in to our very first podcast. Really excited to be here. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, and we're gonna try to fit into 1 hour. So here we go. First topic is gonna be about America as a whole, just from a Canadian's eyes, because a lot of people have a lot of opinions about what's going on. So we felt it was necessary to share ours. So I guess the first thing we'll talk about, um, which is, I guess the hottest topic right now, the elections and Trump and all that nonsense. Me personally, I'm a person of color, so it's always been tough to watch someone like that in the office, especially for 4 years. Um, I think House of L can agree as well, because he's also minority. It's definitely hard to watch someone who is openly racist, um, and just has so much hate in their heart, run the country for 4 years. What do you think?
Let me put out this statement first: is that during Trump's run as the president, he told over 30,000 lies, and that's facts.
Literally,
30,000 lies in the office,
that's insane. Like, imagine someone like that running
and he got impeached twice
twice.
in history. That has never
Yeah,
happened.
it is insane. Like, it's unprecedented. Like, that doesn't even begin to explain what it is. That word, unprecedented. Like, just the stuff that he did and got away with, in his presidency is dumbfounding. Um, because no other president in history has been able to do all the stuff he's done and get away with it. Um,
Well, that alone says a lot about America, right? That
exactly.
those with money have power,
Yep.
because Trump essentially funded his own like career, right? That's how he
Exactly.
won the presidency.
Exactly. Yeah. Um, and yeah, like there's a lot of. I mean, America's always been corrupt for sure. I mean, that's not a secret for sure, but at all. But just to see the blatant nonsense, and I mean, even yeah, the fact that he was elected to begin with, because I remember like all them years ago, chilling with my best friend, one of my best friends, and till like 3 in the morning, and we were all like, "There's no way Trump can win that. It's not gonna happen. Like, it's chill. Like, we got nothing to worry about." And then
Well,
he
that's the
literally got
thing when
elected.
he's that's when he that's the thing when he first ran though. His opposing person was Hillary, right?
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
either have Trump as president
yeah.
or the first female as president.
Exactly. Yeah. So there was
And
a
they didn't want another Bush administration to happen.
yeah, fair
And they
enough.
went
And
for
like
Trump.
I can definitely understand that for sure. But I mean, any person who has a beating and functioning heart can see that someone like Trump is not good for America. The dude is, uh, and might add a very unsuccessful uh, businessman. Businessmen usually only care about one thing, money, and he's not even good with it. So to put
Facts.
someone like that in office that's supposed to run the country and he doesn't have any experience prior, like nothing to do with um a political background. um I just it's just dumbfounding. It's dumbfounding to me, that he was even put in place. But yeah, like I remember like 4 years ago, chilling with my boy, and we were like, no, there's no way he's gonna win. And then he won. Like Hillary was winning, and I guess we thought she had won, and then the electoral college said nope. And like I remember it was a whole like me and my boy and I, we literally got in the car, drove to McDonald's, and we needed to clear our heads because we could not believe what had just happened. Like it was just crazy.
Like, how do you go from Barack Obama to President Trump?
That's like literally two sides of the spectrum, like the complete opposite side.
You're doing 4 steps forward progressively, and then you take 100 steps backwards with Trump.
Literally, like that. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that. It just all, and I mean, look at the past 4 years. Look at all the damage that's done, right?
The amount of times they went to war.
Literally, right? Uh, like right at the beginning of 2020, he launched that airstrike and killed that very powerful man in Iran, and then that was almost World War III. And now Iran is saying that they're going to finally retaliate. Whether that happens or not, hopefully it doesn't, remains to be seen. But that's still a very real threat because of Trump, because of his, lack of thinking, right? And just his impulses.
Well, honestly, I think he's so cocky because of his relationship with North Korea.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. I mean, him and King Jong Un have a lot in common, right? They're both power hungry, right?
And honestly, their business is more of like a money thing rather than political and presidential.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the huge issue. You can't have somebody running the country whose sole purpose is to, make more bread, if you will, for themselves, right? Like that doesn't work in an environment like presidency. You have to have someone who has the best interests of the people at heart, and as the main focus, um, for their presidency as a whole. You can't have someone who's only focused on money, because a lot of other things, a lot of other aspects of the country are going to suffer because of that, like they already have for the past 4 years. So yeah, so I think Trump as a whole, I'm glad that he's just out of the office now. Like we can finally breathe and somewhat go back to somewhat of a normalcy, because it's just been insane.
Yeah, and then there's those supporters that we have to deal with.
Yeah, that's the other thing too now, right? Is I think so I watched I'm sure everybody here knows Dave Chappelle. In my opinion, one of the most legendary comedians to ever walk the earth. Man's a masterful dude on the mic. But I watched one of his stand-ups again recently because I like to rewatch his stuff a lot, and he basically, um, in loose terms, said that Trump, he thinks that Trump is the mistake that needed to happen to America so that we could start asking the right questions and start having the right conversations about how we can do better as a people. I say we, even though I'm in Canada, but even the human race, because America does affect a lot of the world. But yeah, he said it in that way, and I thought that was true because when you have such a big mistake or such a big thing happen, it forces people to talk about it. It forces people to come to conclusions and hopefully resolve issues, right?
Well, that's the thing is that we grew up learning from our mistakes, right?
Exactly.
So he put it in a way for us to digest it in a much layman terms
Absolutely.
of we have to experience the failures before we can
Mhm.
learn from them.
Exactly, for sure.
But why do we have to go through this failure in the first place is my
That's the
point.
thing, right? Well, like I mean, and yeah, like ideally, we shouldn't have had to go through all this to begin with. But honestly, America has had so much racism, deep rooted racism in the country for over 400 years now, and it's obviously not gone away. We've thought it has,
It never subsided.
but
They just stayed quiet.
that's the thing, exactly, right? It stayed quiet, and I think that's when Dave Chappelle said that, what he really meant was we had it in the past and it kind of subsided, but like now it's out in the open again, so we can see who's openly racist, right? And we can tackle that. We can fix that. We can try anyways.
It
Right now
always
it's out in
ties
the
down to
open.
Trump though. That's
And
the
that's the thing, because Trump is out here egging his supporters on or whatever, and making situations worse, like the Capitol situation that happened a week or two ago, right? That
he's
was
very
absolutely absurd,
manipulative.
very manipulative, right? And I mean, unfortunately, his followers are just, I don't want to say it like this, but brain dead, for lack of a better term, because how can you have that much hate in your heart and follow someone who has even more hate in his, right? Like there's just, it doesn't even make sense. And what I find really ironic about that Capitol situation anyway, specifically, is those same people that stormed the Capitol and did this or whatever, talk about revolution or whatever. Those are the same people uh, that are preaching constitution and this and that or whatever, and votes and all this or whatever. Those are the same people
There's
that are overthrowing the same constitution that they're trying to
exactly.
uphold. It's ironic,
They
right?
literally broke into the Capitol.
Literally, like the Capitol, like
That
That's
hasn't happened since the
crazy.
1800s.
Literally, since like the Black Panthers. Like that is crazy. And that was for a just cause. That was different. That was for black lives and everything. And that's not to say that every other, ethnicity hasn't had its issues, but that was genuinely an actual, like, that was a legit revolution, right? Black people were being mistreated. They still are today, but a lot more back then, and people wanted to do something about it, so they did. This is literally, hey, our dude lost, so let's fight for it,
That's
even
not
though
even
he
a
lost
protest.
fair
That's
and
an act of
square.
terrorism.
It's literally terrorism, and like that was kind of upsetting seeing people talk about it in that way. Oh, the rioters and the protesters. No, they're literally terrorists. They're terrorists of the state and of the country because of what they partook in, right? And like that's what people need to understand is this is not right, like in any way, shape, or form. They He lost fair and square. He Like Georgia counted about 3 times because of him telling them to, and they got the exact same results every time. Like there's no 11,000 votes that he was saying he had. There's nothing. Like he literally lost, and they just
He
cannot
tried to
accept.
stall as much as possible, but
Absolutely,
nothing's gonna come out of it.
yeah. And it's just he's just making himself look worse, right? Because
If
the dude's
anything, he's
already
trying to
got.
incite more violence
That's just
by
it, right?
stalling it.
There's more. There's The longer he's in there, every day that he's in there. I mean, he's out actually by tomorrow or so, Wednesday. But for every day that he's been in there, it's just been more hate, more violence, and 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 just it's been chaos. Every single day has been worse than the last, and yeah, it's just it's a nightmare. I know personally, I have a lot of my family is over there, on my Jamaican side and my Trinidad and Tobagonian side, and it's like I've seen that, like, they've literally sent me videos of the nonsense that's going on, like literally outside their windows, like they're living on the same streets that these things are happening on, and it's scary to know that over 50 plus of my family members live over there and have to deal with this.
Especially in the time we're in right now with COVID.
Exactly. Right. And I think, yeah, that brings us to another big topic. Um, I think COVID is obviously it's a killer. I mean, that's goes without saying. But COVID has really shown um, a lot of people's true colors and about what they think about the government, about vaccines, and everything else in between. Um,
2020 is the year that brought everyone out
That's so true. 2020
for
as
the
a
worst.
whole was, yeah, it brought out the worst in a lot of people. Um, I know, and we'll talk about BLM a bit later, but with COVID and in specific, I know a lot of people that I thought they, had sense. But that, I've the more I talk to them through this pandemic, have realized they actually just don't have any sense. A lot of people that are, anti-maskers and anti-vaxxers, and I mean, whether you believe in vaccines or not is, you know, I don't think very relevant, at least as relevant as general personal hygiene, uh, you know, social distancing, masks, all that stuff like that. Vaccines, yeah, that's a huge topic for sure. But there's certain reasons why certain people wouldn't want them. But the mask thing, the mask thing is just crazy to me that this is the world we live in where we go into a pandemic. The government says, okay, you know what? How about everybody wear masks so that we can mitigate the amount of COVID that's being spread? And then people literally say my rights are being taken away.
What rights are
I
being infringed?
I just don't, I can't understand it. It makes no sense to me. I've argued with people about this over and over, and I still don't understand what rights are being taken away.
It's honestly just down to Trump to bring it
Yeah,
back full circle. Having
exactly.
him in office during a pandemic
It's
of
the
this
worst
scale
thing.
was the worst
Absolutely.
thing that could ever happen.
Yep.
The
Very
fact
true.
that he incited the COVID-19 vaccine as the Chinese Kung flu
Yeah.
and
That's
blamed it
senseless.
on the Chinese.
Yeah.
was wrong in the first place
Yep. To begin with.
because they're doing studies now and they found the virus that started in the US
Yep.
came from Europe instead of
Hmm.
China.
Yep. So
That's why it spread so much faster than everywhere else in the world
exactly.
because the strain that they found were similar to the one in Wuhan,
Yep.
but it was actually the one that originated in the UK
Yep.
that's
Hmm.
spreading faster right now,
Exactly.
right?
Yep. And I
And
mean,
then most Trump supporters are anti-mask and vax.
exactly. Yep.
It doesn't
And
help.
yeah, and like he just plays it down and makes it seem like it's a joke. And it's like, dude, you can't do that, man. Like this is huge. These are people's lives at stake.
A good portion of his lies were about COVID too.
Yeah, absolutely.
He
Um,
deliberately said that this will just go over,
yep,
pass
it'll just
over.
pass over. Like it's not even a big deal. As if
It's
like
just
there's
like a
not already a
flu.
death toll. Yeah. And like just completely undermining it. As if it's not already taking thousands of people's lives just like that. I remember, yeah, like the very first few weeks or like the first month or whatever of it, he literally said like he was like a joke. Like he didn't believe in it at all. It's a hoax. It's just like a
He
ploy.
said, and I quote, "It's like a miracle."
Yep. Insane.
How is
Wow.
that a
What does that
miracle?
even mean?
Oh,
Like that's like oh my gosh. I just don't get it. I don't get it. But yeah, COVID's been a very big eye opener for me for sure. And I mean for a lot of people for sure, but just seeing how people react to basic things. You go to grocery store, stay 6 feet, wear a mask, do what you gotta do, go home. It's not rocket science. I don't understand why people think that this is such a big political thing. The government's trying to control us and our rights are being taken away. Okay, let's say the science is wrong. The masks don't work. It's all a hoax. What happened? You wore a piece of cloth on your face. What is the harm? I don't like I'm just trying to understand. Like why are people so pressed at wearing a mask? I
let
just
me
don't
put it
get
like
it.
this: wearing a mask on your face is the same concept as wearing a condom.
Exactly.
When you have intercourse and you wear a condom, it's so that you don't
Oh,
have an
you could
offspring.
protect. Yeah,
You don't have kids. It's
it's
the
the
same
same
concept.
thing. And people will wear those, so what's the issue? Now all of a sudden that the government's saying it's a ploy and a scheme to control people? Not
How do you
everything the
explain the
government
deaths?
does. Yeah, like not everything the government does is a ploy to take over the whole like like the entire civilization.
Especially if it's worldwide that's happening.
Right? And like I've heard other people say, yeah, like it's just a hoax or whatever. Yeah, okay, so you're trying to tell me every government in the on the entire planet decided to go into debt all collectively. They were all in on it and decided, you know what? This is the year we're all going to go into debt for this and that is what it is. Why? That like these are the theories that I'm hearing day to day and this doesn't compute. Cannot compute. I don't get it. Like
And I
people
hate
really
how
out
they
here.
compare the COVID to just normal flu. You
Mhm.
don't understand that the
Yeah.
COVID is much more deadly.
Exactly, and
Th-
it's spreading way like it's not even remotely close to how the flu is.
They're
Like the
using
flu,
stats of the flu on an annual basis, whereas
exactly,
COVID is happening daily. These are
daily.
the stats are from a day alone.
Yeah, like just
You're getting over a
insane,
million cases a day, whereas a
literally.
flu you get maybe like not that like maybe a couple 100,000 a year at
Yeah,
most.
a year. So like it's not even in the same ballpark of the same situation. It's not. It's an entirely different thing. And obviously, if the flu was as bad, it would have been a pandemic, a worldwide pandemic. I'm not saying the flu is not bad. The flu is very bad. It does kill people, right? That's facts. That's stats. But to undermine COVID and say the flu is just as bad, if not worse, is false. Statistically and factually speaking, it is false. And people that keep inciting that and saying that it is the same are false. It's as simple as that.
And that the flu is very seasonal. It's only in the winter months,
Yeah,
whereas COVID is year out
it's literally
throughout the whole
year
year.
out. It didn't care about temperature. It didn't care about anything. It just came
Nothing is
through and
effective
wiped
against
people out.
COVID right now.
Nothing. Like, yeah, sure, the vaccines are out now and cool, and they might work. And that, I mean, I hope they do. But you know, until everybody's vaccinated and stuff. And okay, that brings me to the next point. These vaccines. I'm semi anti-vaxxer just because I grew up, in a black family, and black people aren't too keen on vaccines. It just is what it is.
Well, that's the
Um,
thing. Vaccines don't work on minorities.
yeah,
It's a proven fact.
it is a proven fact,
They
unfortunately.
tested back in the then. They tested
Yeah,
only on white people.
yeah, exactly. That's true. So I mean, yeah, they don't have a high success rate with blacks, but I just know, yeah, growing up, I would have never got shots or whatever. I think I got like one, like my hepatitis B shot or whatever it was in elementary school years ago, and that was the only shot I ever got, and that's the only shot I ever needed because I don't get sick very often. Like I get sick twice a year usually, and they're always in the exact same spot. It's right from spring, right from the end of winter to spring, and right from fall into winter every time, and it's because of the temperature change. Besides that, I don't usually ever get sick, so I was like, I don't need a shot, you know?
See, based on my history, every year I used to take the flu shot, right?
Mm,
But
yeah,
then every year I would get super sick.
yeah,
And
exactly.
then starting from like 2018 or 2019, that when I stopped taking the vaccine for the flu,
Mm,
I haven't gotten sick once.
exactly, exactly. And it's just like it's really true what they say that they give you the virus to fight the virus. That's what a vaccine is, right? And like,
Literally.
okay, sure, that's science, and your immune system needs to get used to it so that it can fight it off.
Because
Fair,
they give you a diluted version of the virus
exactly.
so that you have it inside your body.
Yeah, and like on paper, sure, that makes sense. But in
The,
general, if your immune system is strong enough as a whole, you won't even need a vaccine to begin with, because your body will just eventually be able to get used to it on its own without the extra aid of a vaccine, right? At least that's in my eyes. Now, there's going to be a lot of people, there's going to be a lot of flack saying, what about, you were just saying all these things about masks and why you're anti-vax. I'm not anti-vax, people. I'm not anti-vax. I'm semi anti-vax. So what I mean by that is the vaccine just came out a couple months ago. I personally probably won't receive one for at least another 2, 3 years, or at least another year or two. When I know that it's been tested and tried and there aren't major side effects, 'cause that's the other thing. We don't know about all the crazy
a
side
year's not
effects.
going to be enough.
A year is probably not gonna be enough, but at least, like I'm not sticking anything in me right now. Like it's just not gonna happen. It just came out, and the other thing too with vaccines is they're usually like a proper like tested vaccine is 3 to 5 years, and we pushed it out in less than a year. That is super scary for
I
me
mean,
personally.
with the funding that they have and they place on it, it makes sense that they can have some sort of vaccine available,
Yeah.
but it's not going to be ready
Yeah, exactly.
or complete
Yeah.
because these vaccines aren't 100%,
Yeah. They're not.
right?
And I
There's
mean, I think
always a
Pfizer
percent that's
knows
going to
that.
affect you.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think that's part of the reason why they have two vaccines instead of one, right? And then they have the entirely different company coming out with one soon too. So, you know what? Modern medicine and science is good. Don't get me wrong. It's solved a lot of problems, a lot of issues in the world, and as time has gone on, and that's awesome. But proper due diligence needs to be done, in my opinion. And for me to stick a new vaccine into me right now is just not it.
And they
Um,
want you to take multiple doses of it.
and that's the thing, multiple doses. So I'm just not about it. You know what I mean? Like right now, anyways, right? Um,
Like, if a vaccine is supposed to work, why do you need a second dose?
exactly. I don't really
Like,
understand
back
that.
in the day, we would take vaccines and shit for the chicken pox and stuff like that.
Exactly.
We
Yeah.
only needed it once.
Yep.
Why would we need a second dose?
Why? Yeah. Now, we're not scientists, so don't come and cancel us,
Well,
because
that's
our
because
opinions. But that's just what we feel. Like,
COVID is probably still mutating.
yeah, it is. I just seen it on the news like yesterday. They're still mutating. So like, I mean, great. Like,
And they also posted in the news the other day that people who had mild symptoms
mm,
went to the doctors
yeah.
and because they had debilitating symptoms that last
Mm,
and lingered,
yeah.
that's affecting the heart right now and they're going
Yep.
into critical states.
Yep.
So those people who received COVID the first time,
Mm,
made it out healthy,
yeah,
are now
exactly.
experiencing
Saying,
critical
yep,
symptoms.
because it mashed them up, once underlying the first time. Then the second time they got it, they were too weak to even, properly fight it
It's
again.
almost as if COVID went into the system, laid
Yeah,
eggs, and let it
laid
wait.
eggs and came back. Yeah, yeah, that's a good way of saying it, and that's scary because that's pretty much exactly how it is. You know.
Because a lot of people who experienced COVID got it second time, they died.
Yep.
That's just how it
The body
is.
just can't handle it. Um, it's really sad. It's really really sad. I'm lucky enough that I haven't had any of my family members, come down really sick with it, and definitely haven't passed. So I'm really really grateful for that. But I do know some people personally, where their relatives or their close family members have passed, and
Hannah,
yeah,
but she hasn't passed. But
yeah, no, I know, right, exactly. Um, Hannah's Ivan's ex or break ish girlfriend right now. So yeah, I think, and there's the other thing too is a lot of people are like, oh, it's a conspiracy theory, it's not serious, and this and that or whatever. And it's like, dude, look at the numbers. Like, people are getting sick with COVID. People are dying with COVID. You don't have to like walk to another country, or it's happening right outside your door. Just
people
look at the
aren't just going
facts.
to ICU and just staying there for no reason.
Yeah,
They're not
there's
going into
obviously
depth in the
something going
ICU
on.
for no reason.
Exactly.
Because a
So
day in the ICU is minimum $9,000.
literally, like,
That's in Canada.
and yeah, like that's insane.
In the
So
US, it's higher.
yeah, way higher because U.S. doesn't have the healthcare that we have. So thank
I
God
mean,
I
they
live in
could
Canada.
have.
But yeah, well, they didn't want Obamacare because they're selfish. And what is it with Americans in that? Back to America. What is it with America and
Not
not
wanting to
wanting
pay
health,
taxes.
not wanting to pay taxes, so that little boy in Kansas can get a surgery that will save his life when his parents don't have the money for it? I just don't get it. It's called taking care of your people. People. I just don't get it. Why is it such a big deal that you should have
See,
to
that's
pay
the
a little
thing
more to save someone's life?
I don't understand about America is that they don't have an American identity because
Yeah,
their identity is a melting pot of different races,
exactly,
right?
exactly.
Because
Yeah,
Americans aren't actually Americans. They're just
yeah, they're just
Europeans
a
who
bunch of
colonized
people, literally
America.
colonized. Yeah, and so the issue with that is now you have a lot of different viewpoints and standpoints and selfishness along that goes with all those different groups of people, right? Some more than others. I'm not gonna say who, but I think we all know who we're talking about. Um, and yeah, and so I just could never get behind that fact that people really don't want to pay taxes. I mean, Obama literally put in a system in place, Obamacare, to try to achieve what Canada has, which is free healthcare for people. Now, it's not free on the surface, you'd have to pay taxes towards it, but it's free in the moment when you need it. If you had a surgery that you needed to do that was either going to save your life or, make you walk again or whatever it is or whatever, or make you last, survive another 20, 30 years, and it was like $30,000 and you didn't have that, why
Like
wouldn't
if
you
you
want
don't
free
have
healthcare to take
insurance and
that?
you go for a checkup,
Yeah,
you're broke.
literally.
Like a CAT scan is like a couple $1,000s already.
Like just to begin, yeah.
Like
Like it's
you're
insane.
literally just getting an X-ray, bro,
Yeah.
and you got to pay like 3 grand for that.
Yeah. Like I walk into a clinic anytime I want, you know, provided there's no COVID, and book an appointment, get an X-ray, and it's good. I have the results. I can send it to the doctor. I can send it to whoever I want, or keep for my own records, whatever. I don't have to pay. I don't even. I think there's only been a couple times in my life, handful of times in my life, where I've had to ask the doctor, family doctor, whoever, okay, do I need to pay for this? Because it's been like something huge where you might have to pay for it, and even then, usually they say no. Like it's a luxury, and I think it's something. It shouldn't even be a luxury. I think it should just be period across the board. Everybody should have that opportunity to say, you know what, I'm gonna go and do an X-ray. I'm gonna go and do this. I'm gonna go and do that, and I'm not going to be in debt for 10 years because of it.
I mean, that's why they did the thing in Ontario is that people under the age of 25 have free prescriptions,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
And I think that's a very good idea
And that's something that should be implemented everywhere
across the board.
because
Oh, absolutely.
it's something
It's a
that everyone
no-brainer.
needs, right?
Yeah,
You're
oh, for sure.
literally supporting the future generation by
Yeah,
doing so.
absolutely. Definitely securing the future. That's 1000%. Um, yeah, I mean, America is just, and it's funny. It's ironic because America always talks about how they're so ahead of everybody and they're the best country in the world. But for a country that's the best in the world, they're really backwards in a lot of things. Um, Now let's shift it to
Their
Perhaps the
patriotism
biggest.
is very wrong deep down. The root of it
I don't
is
even want to. Well, yeah. So that brings us pretty much into the next biggest topic, which honestly might finish us out for the night because it's huge. As a person of color, it's definitely huge for me. BLM. This statement, this idea, this movement, this very, very, very powerful vehicle that's been used over the, I think, since 2016 to push, change and reform and just awareness for Black lives because they have not been treated well over the past 400 years in America, less so in Canada, but still here as well. And I
well,
think,
Canada was more of people of color of the Asian heritage.
yeah, exactly.
Chinese, Japanese,
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. For those of you that don't know, House of L is Asian himself, so he has, that heartache as well that he's been dealing with, with his people.
because it was an issue in America before BLM and COVID.
Exactly.
Because COVID was what brought out the racists in America
Yep.
that started the attacks on Asian Americans.
Yep. Which
And
is
then it
insane.
led to the killing of George Floyd,
Exactly.
which brought rise to BLM.
Yep. Again. Yet again. So yeah, I I'll say this and first and foremost, anyways, because people still don't seem to understand this very, very, very simple fact. And there's two types of ignorance. There's regular ignorance where you don't know something because you've never been taught it. You don't because you don't know what you don't know. And then there's willful ignorance where people know the facts and they just refuse to believe it. But this is the fact, okay? BLM never ever ever stood for Black Lives Matter more than anybody else's. What it stood for was Black Lives Matter too, or also, okay? And it's very important that people understand this because people still are coming with this sorry argument of all lives matter. And I just cannot I can't wrap my head around how people can be so ignorant. I just don't get it. I don't understand it because it's a very, very simple concept. White people have never had to deal with what we've had to deal with in the black community for over 400 years. There's been so many movements,
Even longer than
so
that.
many, even longer than that. There's been so many movements that have tried to bring awareness and bring about change to black lives in the states, and they haven't worked, right? Look at redlining from back in the day, where they redlined entire sections of cities and neighborhoods and said that what, this is a less favorable neighborhood to live in, and they raised the taxes there, and then as a result, um black people can't pay towards having a better schooling for their children, right? They don't have good jobs, and it's one big cycle, right, that's been constructed by the government, by mainly white people, to keep blacks under. And we've been bringing this to light over and over and over and over again. People don't understand. They just say we're ignorant and we want all the attention, and you guys have the highest crime rates or whatever, and cops aren't killing you nearly as much as white people. They kill white people more. Look at the stats, dude. Look at the stats. There's a lot more white people in the states than black people. Okay, and there's a higher percentage of black people that are getting targeted more than the white people. So obviously, more black people are getting killed by cops. That's just basic math, and people are not getting this fact. Um, so I think it's just a very frustrating topic to have to explain over and over and over again to people that Black Lives Matter does not mean more than anybody else's. It means the same amount. We've been fighting for civil rights. Like one of my favorite comedians right now, Michael Che, he brought up a very, very relevant segment about BLM and stuff, and he said he was talking about the LGBTQ community, and he was like, they were fighting for equal rights. Like, imagine that's a stance, like equal rights. Like somebody like, you know what, I think everybody should have the same rights as everyone across the board. Period. And then there's really people out there like, nah, I don't think so. Like, that's crazy.
Well, those are the same people who believe women shouldn't have rights
Exactly. Exactly.
and
So
women
like,
couldn't vote.
yeah,
Women voting and women having rights came in not that long ago, if you really think
Exactly.
about
If
it.
you really think about it, it's not too far off. Um, so yeah, so he brought that up, and then he's like, black people were even fighting for equal. We're fighting for civil rights. Like that's even a step lower, right? And it's just like I can't understand it. And then yeah, and then he brought up the segment of BLM, right? And he's like, they don't hit you with Black Lives Don't Matter, they hit you with the All Lives Matter thing, right? And
Or
it's
the
just
Blue
like
Lives
what's
Matter.
what's or the Blue Lives Matter. And it's just like, so what's like lower than matters? Exist? Like can we exist? Like why is this such a topic that can't be agreed upon? I don't understand it. And then they bring up all these other things to try and change the narrative or whatever, like George Floyd, Candace Owens, that traitor to the black community, trying to convince white America, how Dave Chappelle puts it, that George Floyd was this and that, he was a criminal and this and that. But I don't give a crap what he did. It does not warrant any person,
His history doesn't warrant
especially
what
not a
happens to
cop.
him in the present.
Literally. Nothing. Like there's no one, especially a police officer, that should be taking a man's life by putting his knee on their neck for 7 or 8 minutes. There's absolutely no way, no person in the world should have to go through that. Least of all, black person. It just it just blows my mind. And he has his hands in his pocket. That is the most frustrating thing about it. Is like you're kneeling on a man's neck for 8 minutes with your hands in your pockets. Like, what does that insinuate? What
What
does that
happened?
show?
What happened to innocence before proven guilty?
Literally, it's guilty before proven innocence.
Why do you have courts?
Period. What's the point of
Why do you
court?
have a
There's no
judge?
trial. There's no nothing. There's not even handcuffs. There's nothing. It's just you just die in the street now. Is this gang war? Like I don't understand. I'm just trying to figure it out.
It literally is a gang war.
It's literally gang war now. And like as Dave, so uneloquently but eloquently put, this is the last time for civil discourse. Because after this, as he said, it's just rat tat 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 tat. The streets just gonna start talking because enough's enough. Enough is enough. No more killing, and definitely not Black lives.
The fact that Dave Chappelle said that he's like we're willing to go to war to prove
Yeah,
a point
exactly. It's huge. This is massive
is something that people should contemplate on.
for sure. And yeah, and it's just it's such a big, it's a very sad but also very big topic that it's something that should be talked about every day. And that's the other thing is like with BLM, I know a lot of people that were, all for us and everything last year. We went to the marches and stuff like that, and it was good. And now none of them are talking about it anymore. And it's like BLM is not a trend. This is literally people's livelihoods here on the line. Okay, this is not something that is just, you talk about it a couple of days or weeks and then it goes away, and then you wait until the next incident. This is something that has to be addressed every single waking moment, right? We all have to do our part or this will never change, right? You see someone say a racist remark, you say, you know what, that's wrong, don't say that. you know you see someone make racist nuances, even just small things or big things as well, correct them, right? Say that's wrong, don't do that. You got to stand up.
I mean, that's what the original term for gangs were for, right?
Absolutely.
Gangs were formed to regulate people in the streets.
Yeah.
That's why they
Exactly.
have gangs,
Yep.
especially the Asian gangs in the states.
Yeah.
They're where to protect themselves and their people
Exactly.
and
Which I
help
get.
regulate the streets.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
why gangs were formed in the first place.
Yep.
But then it got so convoluted with people and
Yeah.
this and that
Yeah.
that
Exactly.
they're showing a different message than what it was originally informed for.
Exactly. Very, very, very true. It's so true. Um, yeah. Guns is it's a very.
Gun
I just
access
don't
should be very
know.
limited in the states.
I just don't get it. I was watching one of my streamers that I watch. He's playing a game or whatever. He lives in Sweden, and
PewDiePie?
no, no, no. It was Leffen. He plays Smash and play Dragon Ball Fighters and stuff. But anyways, he he was doing his thing, and then somebody in the chat mentioned gun control in America or something like that. And he laughed. He like paused his game and everything, and he started laughing. He's like, I just don't get it. I don't understand how this is even a topic. Look at any country in the world that's ever had a mass shooting. What did they do? They took away all their guns. There's never been a mass shooting
Literally.
again. Like, why can America not learn from this? Like, they come with this. I need to protect my family. If you take my guns away, the gangs are gonna take my family. This and that, whatever, whatever, whatever. We're not saying only y'all gonna have the guns taken away. It's a full gun reform period. Like the whole country, right?
And those who are caught with guns are punished severely.
Severely. That's
Like
what it needs to be because it's gonna
countries in
deter people.
Japan, Singapore, and China who have guns
Yeah,
and kill people, they're
yeah,
executed.
they're executed. That's gonna deter people from doing things and getting guns. And I don't care what you say, that's the case. That is the facts. Those are the hard, cold facts. And the more America tries to, you know, tries to diminish that fact and take away from it, is the more there's gonna be mass shootings, right?
America
Look at like
babies
20,
their people too much.
yeah, look at 2019, I think it was. There was like what, four, five, six mass shootings in the first like few months. All school shootings. Crazy little white
Literally.
kids running around with guns. I just don't get it. Like, learn from your mistakes. Do
And
something.
majority of the school shooters were white
They were.
and a student.
Yeah.
How would they have access to
How?
guns?
How? That's absurd. If you're trying to tell me right now, my 16-year-old kid could walk into a gun store and buy a gun, or even not even that,
And
because
then
maybe
buy
that's actually false.
ammo
But literally, like, there's got to
and
be
go to
some
school
way.
with it
Yeah.
and start blasting kids.
I, that's crazy to me. That's absolutely absurd. That's insane. Like, and this is just the norm for them. Like, I just don't understand. Like, imagine going to school and having to do a fire drill, tornado drill, and a school shooting drill. Are you I don't want to live in I don't want my kid to live in a world where he has to do a school shooting drill because there might be a crazy dude that walks up here and shoots up a school every other week. Are you kidding? That
You
what
shouldn't
kind
have
of
to
life
worry
is
about
that?
your kid going to school being afraid of a school shooter.
That like, that is insane. What kind of environment are we putting our kids, our future kids into? There's got to be something y'all can do better. There has to be, because this is ridiculous. And like I said, you're not learning from your mistakes, America. You're not, because it's the same thing time and again. It's just it's rinse repeat. It's watch rinse repeat. Over and over and over, the same things happen. We say ban guns, you say no, you get more guns. Literally, you arm the teachers with guns instead of taking away guns, period, from the country. You arm more people with guns. How does that make any sense whatsoever?
See, that's the thing I don't get is that why are you arming the teachers? Teachers aren't trained to use guns.
They're not trained to use guns. They're trained to teach. That's not their job. Is to defend their class from a maniac. That's not their job. That's the job of the justice system and the whole country as a whole, to prevent guns from being on the street in the first place. This is a whole reform that needs to be done. But no, it's Second Amendment, right? I should have a gun. Da, 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 da. You cannot disarm America's whites, as Dave Chappelle says. He says,
Like it's
like,
literally in the amendment that they're allowed to carry guns with them anywhere they want.
yeah,
They can
and
have
they
it on
stick to it.
display.
They
Like
stick to it.
they can go to Walmart with an AR on strapped to the back,
Literally. Why? What
and
do you
they
ever
say
need an
it's their
assault rifle
right.
for? Ever. Ever. You're not in the military. Fine, a pistol? Sure. I can understand that.
Even
But
if you're in the military, you wouldn't need an AR.
you
You'd
don't
be
need an
trained
AR
enough
to
to
go to
use a
Walmart, my
pistol
guy.
or
You
just like
don't.
a baton. Even is enough if you're
Literally.
in the military.
Like, it's just mind boggling. It's mind numbing that people are coming with these arguments that because it's a Second Amendment right, they can walk into a store fully card carrying and get away with it just because they can. That is crazy to me. Crazy. Like, that's the world we live in right now. Like, this is the norm in America. You walk into a store and you see people with guns, and they're like, "Yeah, this is what it is."
Surely we would have thought we progressed more by now.
Man, look, we in 2021, and the more I think about it, I feel like we're going backwards. every waking day, every waking moment, I feel like we're going back more backwards. It's like we're regressing to a primitive state because
Like
the
no one
stuff
in
I'm seeing and
America
hearing,
can
man.
control their population and the people.
Yeah.
With the amount of people on the streets still,
Mm,
and like the fucking one video I showed you on Twitter where
mm,
the sports team that won,
yeah.
they flooded the streets,
Literally thousands, if not tens of thousands of people in the street, no mask, close quarters, huddled up,
shoulder to shoulder,
shoulder to shoulder like it's a rave.
while everyone else in the world is 6 feet apart at least,
Like
wearing a mask.
wearing them, like I don't. It just they're so backwards. What's good with y'all, America?
It's as if they don't even care
They
anymore.
just don't care. It's crazy. This is th- this shouldn't even be things that we have to talk about. This is just common sense. And as my mom says, common sense is not common these days, and she's right because of situations like this. Um, but yeah, I in back to the BLM thing real quick. Um, one of the city that I work in here in Canada, Ontario, Canada. Um, they just announced, supposedly it was the black community, announced that they were going to be changing Black History Month to Black Heritage Month. And as a person of color myself, and talking to my other fellow people of color, um, I just can't help but feel like that's not the right move. I feel like the word history has such a very profound and very big meaning. And when you say heritage, I feel like when I think of the word heritage, I think of good things. I think of things that um, have progressed well and moved forward. And now that's not to say there isn't very good things in Black history. There's a lot of good things in Black history. In fact, a lot of things that are overlooked by people and that are not taught. So I understand that, but I feel like heritage is too much of a cheery word for all the suffering and pain that Black people have endured. I think history is that nice fine line where it talks about a lot of the bad, but also a lot of the good too, right? Um, so I
Well,
think,
it's a matter of PR that they want to change
mhm,
because of what people of color and
yeah,
black people suffered. That's why they want to change it to heritage. It's
yeah,
just a matter of semantics
yeah. It's all
because
it
they
is.
mean the same thing. It's
Mm.
just history has a better impact and
That's the thing.
context to it.
Yeah, when you think of history, you think about very, very huge, like big events, world-changing events, right? When you say the word Nazi or history in the same senses, you think about crazy stuff that happened in the back with Hitler and Auschwitz and all that stuff. You think about all that because it's
You don't
history.
say Jewish heritage, you say Jewish history.
Exactly. So I don't understand why all of a sudden they're trying to change this thing that's been a thing forever to heritage. And I don't think, as far as I understand, it's only the city that's doing it. I don't think it's the whole province, and I hope it's not America, because America definitely does not need to be messing with that. Um, but yeah,
I
I
think
just
they
found that really
I think
strange.
America's been using heritage
Mm,
in certain states that they changed it already. It's been a
mm,
thing,
mm.
but Black history is still the prominent.
Yeah, term,
Yeah,
which I think it personally should be. Um, maybe I'm wrong. Let me know what you guys think. What your thoughts are about that. But I personally think that it should say history. I think that just holds a deeper meaning.
because when you
Um,
think of history, you think of MLK that
mhm.
just passed
Yep,
on Monday,
exactly. Yep,
right?
exactly.
You think
Absolutely.
of Rosa
MLK Day.
Parks.
Mhm. Yep. You think of Harriet Tubman. You think of all the greats, right? Malcolm X, all of them. Um, and I feel like heritage just doesn't do that justice. It's not a powerful enough word for
You
that.
can use heritage when you speak about them,
Mm,
but as a label, you should use history.
history. I agree. I personally agree with that. Um, another point that one of my coworkers, another person of color, brought up to me was that they gave us the shortest month, and I didn't even realize that actually. Is we literally got the shortest month of the year. So it's like on top of them patronizing us and say, okay, here, you got your month. Now leave us alone for the rest of the 11. And it's the shortest month. That is actually so messed up. Like that's crazy. Like not only are they insinuating that it's just a trend for 1 month and that's it, they actually chose to give us the shortest month.
Well, that's
I
the
just I
thing
don't
with
understand. Like that's crazy. That just clicked in.
instead of making it a month, won't you make it just
A
every
yearly
day?
thing, that an everyday thing, right? It
Because
should just be a thing that you just deal with. Period.
whatever happened with Black History happened every day.
It was every day.
It didn't
Slave,
just happen in 1 month.
literally. So it's a cop out. I feel like it's a cop out, as she put it. Um, to have it just 1 month, right? To celebrate or to bring awareness to a thing that's been happening for over 400 years. Um, I think that it's not fair. But there's gonna people be people that argue, um, well, you're being ungrateful because we did give you a whole month. Other people don't have a whole month, and it's like, well, that's not the point because a lot of other people didn't have to deal with all the stuff that we had to. Now, there are some of the things that other people did have to deal with. There are slavery. A lot of Asians had to deal with slavery as well. Natives got kicked off their land and are still being kicked off their land. So there's definitely a lot of hardship and racism and separatism and a lot of other stuff that other races do have to deal with and still are. Um, but I think it's just wrong. Um, the way that they went about Black History Month. Personally, it just really brought awareness to that for me. Um, but yeah, I think as a human race, we still have a lot of work to do. We thought we were making some progress. George Floyd was a very, very big catalyst for a lot of stuff last year, the protesting. And, there's never been such a worldly event to protest for one cause like that. So that is definitely history right there. That's been made. So I
Like the
do
George Floyd case was the thing that broke the camel's back.
absolutely. It was the last straw for
Like
sure.
everything that happened in 2020, it led up to that moment.
Absolutely, for sure. That was the catalyst. That was the last spark. Um, and I think what happened last year, I'm very proud of everybody that stood up, for everybody in the in the black community. I really, really appreciate everybody that did come out and show the
The
support
amount of
around the world, right?
like in the states alone, there was like what 50 something states that united in
Yeah,
protest and
yeah.
marched.
For like months. That's crazy. That's
They all marched on the same day too.
hmm
Everywhere, like that
that's
connectiveness is
that's
what
that's
should still exist now.
exactly.
What happened
Um,
to that energy?
exactly. Keep the same energy. Now, I mean, we gotta be realistic. We're all human. Not everybody's gonna want to protest every day of their lives. We get it,
Yes, but
right?
we
But
should
at the very least, keep talking about it. Keep spreading awareness about it.
keep it
Keep
prominent.
don't yeah, keep it prominent. Keep donating to black causes or whatever. And that's not to say you can't donate to other causes, but also bring in the black causes as well because they're hurting. Um, you know,
Especially during a pandemic.
especially during a pandemic. Um, you know, like I said, correct people that are wrong and using racial slurs. Check your family members. A lot of family members say racist things and they get away with it simply because they're family members, and that's not fair. I do it with my own parents. They say some stuff, and I'm like, "Yo, mom, dad, that's bad. You can't say that. That is racist." You know, and
It's on us.
I don't think that saying that says minorities can't be racist is true. I think it's harder to be considered that because of the hardships they went through, but I still think it's very, very true that people of color and other minorities can be racist too to other people. That's something I believe in. But yeah, I think we definitely have a lot of work to do as a human race. Still, we have made a lot of strides. George Floyd, everything else last year, but we can still go forward. We still have more work to do. Um, and we need your support, right? That's it, and not even just for BLM, everything in general, right?
I mean, that's the thing is that
It's a team effort.
people need to unite
Absolutely.
as a whole
Yeah,
and see each other as human,
yeah, exactly.
right?
Because at the end of the day, that's all we are, man. We're human. We're just flesh bags, man. Like for lack of a better term, that's all we are.
We're
And
literally just a machine.
yeah, people people need to chill. Ugh, that's it. But
Because at the end of the day, once we're dead, we're just bones.
that's it. We're just bones in the ground, man. That's just it. But that being said, there's a lot of positivity, and it's good to talk about the bad stuff, but it's also good to embrace the good stuff too. And there has been a lot of good change. So that
On a
much I can say for sure.
on a brighter note, shout out to Stephen Curry and Aisha for donating $25,000 to a Vietnamese restaurant in California
Hey,
to help
that's
support
awesome,
people during a
man.
pandemic.
That's actually amazing.
They fed over 24,000 people already.
Oh, that is actually such a beautiful thing, man. That's so awesome. And that's just it, man. Those are the examples, right? Helping humans out, man. That's it. That's what it's all about. You got money, give it back if you can. You know what I mean? I'm not saying give
Do
away
it
your whole savings,
responsibly,
but do it
right?
responsibly, right? Knowing that you can, I would do it, if I could. So yeah, no, I respect him for sure on that. Him and his wife, girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, man. But yeah, I think that pretty much marks all the big stuff we wanted to talk about tonight. Still got a lot more topics to cover, but it's been pretty much an hour, so we'll probably wrap up here. We just wanted to thank you guys so much for tuning in to the
Yep.
Don't Watch That podcast. We say don't watch that because you're not watching it, you're listening to it. But it's been a great time. We hope you'll tune in for more on the next one. This has been Bloodshot
House of
and
L.
House of Well, and we'll catch y'all next time. Peace.
Later.